Hello from sunny Phnom Penh, Cambodia. My name is Ryan and I want to take you guys on a little walk through my neighborhood and tell you about why I moved to Cambodia. So the simple answer is because my wife got a job here. She is an international school teacher and she got a job as a biology teacher here in Phnom Penh. She's getting paid quite well, and the school also offers many benefits. For example, a housing allowance. She gets $1,000 a month just to pay for the rent for where we live. So housing is essentially paid for. The school also provides health insurance for both of us, which this is the first school she's ever taught at that offered health insurance for the spouse. Here's a locals selling kind of Cambodian style donuts in the streets. The school also flies us home once a year, a return flight. We're from Canada, so we get a flight to Canada and back once a year, which is really nice as well. So basically we don't have to pay for our rent, we don't have to pay health insurance, and we don't even have to pay for a flight home and back every single year. So that really takes care of a lot of expenses right off the bat before she even gets paid, and she does get paid quite well. She's able to save a lot of money here, more money than she would working in Canada, in the US, in England. I've talked to people from those countries who work here with her, and they all say the same thing. Yeah, this is a much better situation for them when it comes to saving money and quality of life even. So getting that job really did help us make a decision to move to Cambodia. But we did have Cambodia on our radar long before that. 13 years ago, we traveled Southeast Asia. It was a long trip, maybe 3 months, and we went to all kinds of different places. We really loved it. We loved the vibes of Southeast Asia, and we ended up moving to Vietnam, where she started her teaching career, and we lived in Vietnam for 2 years. Then we moved to China for 3 years, and then Ecuador for 2 years. And I know a lot of Americans are interested in retiring in Ecuador, but it was a great place. We loved living there, but we decided that we really missed Southeast Asia and we wanted to go back there. So that's when the job came up for Cambodia, and we made the decision to move to Cambodia. This street seems to have a lot of laundry businesses. You see clothes hanging out here. It actually smells really good with all the freshly washed clothes hanging here. So I felt like I knew Cambodia quite well. I had visited it 3 or 4 times at that point, but I had never lived there, and I also knew that Cambodia was one of the fastest changing places I had ever been to. And so I knew it was going to be different than it was 5 years before when I had been there last, but I found that it was a very easy place to live. Settling in here really didn't take that long. The expat community here is pretty big, so it was easy to make friends. And we discovered that apps are kind of a big thing here. You've got your ride-hailing app, your food delivery app. We were set up with a bank account, and the bank gave us an app. The app allows us to make payments anywhere in the city just by scanning a QR code. So we got some monks walking in the morning. They go around collecting alms, a very common sight here in Cambodia. So despite the language barrier, which is often the biggest hurdle when living in a foreign country, the apps just made it so much easier to get over that hurdle. The ride-hailing app, Grab, I'd say where I want to go, type it into the app, shows me how they're going to drive me there. It asks me what type of vehicle I want. I can get a car, I can get a Tuk-Tuk, which is the type of taxis they have here. It tells me how much it's going to cost. There's no negotiating with the driver. There's no trying to explain to the driver where you want to go. It's all automatic on the app. Back in the day when we didn't have this app, one of the easiest ways to get ripped off here in Cambodia would be negotiating a tuk-tuk ride. They knew that you had money, and so they would try to overcharge you a little bit. But with the app, you can avoid all that. Basically, you're getting lost less and you're paying less. I think it's like about 2 kilometers, costs about $1.50. And the food delivery app is just as easy. I can search for what I want. I can search for a specific restaurant. The delivery fee is usually free. Sometimes it's like $1. I think it's the max I've ever spent for food delivery here in Cambodia, and that was for something that was like across town. And also there's a ton of different food available here, international food. I can look around right now and I can see Indian place right there, flavors of India. This is a Vietnamese place that should be opened up in the next couple weeks. Gringos, that's Tex-Mex. Tex-Mex food in Cambodia. Oh, right here we got Pasta Mania, Italian food. We got gelato. Down there, I don't know if you can see that. It says Ilya Greek Kitchen. It's Greek food. Gelato factory. We got 2 gelato places just within a 2-minute walk of each other. And also this is La Bruschetta. It's Italian food, Italian owner, so authentic Italian. Kind of a French cafe here. And it's all within a 2-minute walk. You know, like I live a 3-minute walk away from here. Some local food here that's really good. They do a lot of noodle soups here in Cambodia that are nice, healthy lunch or breakfast. A lot of people eat noodle soup for breakfast here, which is fantastic if you've never tried it. I think it's also very important to find your neighborhood, especially when you live in Phnom Penh. We used to live in BKK1, which is a really international neighborhood. There's a lot of embassies there. It's really nice. It's well taken care of. And I liked it. I liked it quite a lot. But we ended up moving to Tuk-Tuks, which feels a bit more neighborhoody. That's where I am right now. This guy's got quite the muffler on his scooter. Whoa, fancy, fancy. I think BKK1's a bit more higher end, and Tuk-Tuks felt a little bit more middle class and also a bit more local. It was walkable, the restaurants, shops, and things like this market, which is right in front of me here. Might get a little bit loud because the market is always a bustling place in Cambodia. All right, let's just go right into the heart of it here. Got chicken, lots of meat. I usually try to avoid the meat. I prefer to buy my meat at a supermarket where it's refrigerated. But if you come early in the morning, it's not really a problem. But the fruits and the vegetables here, grocery stores can't compete with the quality of fruits and vegetables. These are all probably like farmed recently and brought here in the morning. So I'll get up in the morning and I'll walk over to the market to pick up some fresh fruit, some fresh coconut water, maybe pick up a bottle of freshly made soy milk, and I'll go home after that and maybe make a healthy oatmeal out of it with locally grown cashews and just a lot of ingredients that are all natural, no preservatives. Like the coconut water, I can buy that at the store in a carton, or I can go to the guy who cracks open a coconut and pours the coconut water out into a cup for me. And I do think that a lot of Westerners come here and they end up losing weight because they eat better and they probably don't have a car, so they walk more. Susadai.
Hello, Mom.
Hello, how are you? I'm making video about living in Cambodia.
Oh.
So you can be in the video. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. A little bit of broccoli. Let's get some potatoes. These nice red potatoes. Roast up some vegetables. Oh, let's get a sweet potato too. The people here are incredibly friendly. They're Buddhists. They often will call you Bong. I hear Bong all the time. And Bong means brother, so it's kind of sweet. It's, you know, that's not just like, yeah, it's like everybody's family is the idea. Well, let's see how much, a couple potatoes and some
Mom, 8,000?
8,000, so that's $2. 8,000 real, this is $2 American. Okay, and you can see some of the tropical fruit here that you probably can't get in North America. If you can, it's definitely not as fresh. I like these dragon fruits a lot. Red? White. See, it's amazing how much English people speak here. 5,000 for 2 dragon fruits. That's $1.25. I have $1. Yeah. How come? Okay, so you may have noticed I gave her a $1 bill and 1,000 Khmer real, that's the local currency. She accepted both because they kind of have a dual currency system here. And the history of that starts in the late 70s when the Khmer genocide happened. You've probably heard of the name Pol Pot. He started a genocide here and there was an absolute travesty. About 25% of the population was killed. You know, it's kind of an open wound on the country that's still healing. So many of these people around me, probably anybody over the age of 40, has been affected by the genocide, and they seem to have dealt with it by being very positive and just embracing life now. So back to the US dollar. Basically, when the Khmer Rouge took over, they abolished money, so they destroyed all the local currency. When the Khmer Rouge fell, the US donated a bunch of money here, and there was actually more US dollar in the country than there was Khmer real, and so they've kind of adopted it as their second currency as the real kind of got back on its feet. It's useful for people, for especially Americans coming over here who want to bring over some USD and open up a bank account and not have to worry about exchange rate fees. Look at these delicious donuts. Freshly fried up donuts. Susurai. Oh, they have fillings too. Do you have coconut? And boy, 3,000. Got myself some snacks. 75 cents for these two. So as you can see, the people are very friendly, and I love that about Cambodia. But I do want to mention that there is a bit of a separation between the Westerners and the Cambodians. Obviously that is a negative thing, but it's also kind of a positive thing in some ways, I guess. When I lived in Ecuador, I had to be a part of the Ecuadorian culture. I had to kind of find my place in the Ecuadorian culture. Maybe I had to learn a bit of Spanish. You're in some ways pretending that you're Ecuadorian, but you'll never really be Ecuadorian. And it's the same here. I'm never going to be Cambodian, but it's way more apparent. I look different, our cultures are so different. In Ecuador, I've been to a craft beer event, and it was set up for Ecuadorians. You know, everything's in Spanish, mostly Ecuadorians there. But here, I go to a craft beer event. I went to one a couple weeks ago, and it was put on by expats, mostly expats there. Some Cambodians are into it, but everything's in English. It's very much an expat event. I think that's the difference between the two countries. Ecuador, you're trying to kind of pretend to be Ecuadorian, but here, no one's pretending. You're obviously not Cambodian, so there's a bit of a separation there because of that. But at the same time, it's easier to kind of assimilate into the culture. Not the Cambodian culture, but the expat culture. That being said, it doesn't mean you shouldn't try to embrace the Cambodian culture, because it is fascinating. It's a really cool place. They have a long history and a lot of interesting traditions. I'll go to events that are directed at Cambodians. Kung Kamai is a big sport here. It's like kickboxing. I'll go to those events. And sometimes you're just people watching, and sometimes you're actually watching the event. But either way, it's always fun. And then there's expat events like St. Patrick's Day, Oktoberfest. I went to an Oktoberfest event that was pretty fun. And I bet you there's an American Thanksgiving happening in the city. Actually, I can check. Yeah, I can see there's actually 3 happening in the city. Beef turkey, 2 kinds of stuffing, sweet potato mash with candied pecans. Oh, this sounds good. I might have to go to this. I also love how international the foreigner community is here. You're gonna find Australians, Kiwis, English, people from all over the world. And it's nice to sit at a table and everybody has a different point of view, a lot of interesting conversations, a lot of broadening of horizons. And to me, that's what international living is all about. Just learning more about the world outside your little box. So I just turned down this little alley. I'm going to take you guys to one of my favorite coffee shops, get a cup of coffee, and we'll finish the video. It's kind of hidden away. Thanks. Susanai with long black. This place is opened up by an Australian, I think. I like it because of the views. So this is the Russian market. It's kind of a famous market here in Cambodia. It's a bit touristy, a lot of clothing, and I didn't go here for my fresh fruit and my fresh veg because I like the other market for that. But there is a vegetable, fruit, meat, and other food section in there. But I think it's a good spot to sit for people watching. I can kind of sit here and look over the edge and see all the action down below. Yeah, welcome. It's a good little coffee here. Got some chocolate covered coffee beans with it. They really do have some of the best coffee in the city. So I wanted to go over city options when it comes to living in Cambodia. There's really only a few that are popular, at least. Kampot, which is a laid-back river town. It's really slow-paced living, kind of hippie vibes to it. But there's quite a few Westerners living there, so there's a lot of different cuisines available, despite it being pretty small. It's kind of famous for Kampot pepper. It's one of the best types of black pepper in the world, so there's a lot of restaurateurs that settled there because the ingredients are so high-end there. And then there's Siem Reap, which is famous for Angkor Wat. It's a really cool city, and it's quite developed. Like, they put sidewalks in, which are pretty rare in Cambodia. It is quite touristy, as you can imagine, but many retired expats live there because it's much cheaper than Phnom Penh, and you can also find almost everything you need there. Honestly, I think if my wife didn't need to work here in Phnom Penh, I think we would probably live in Siem Reap because it's a lot cheaper is one thing, but it's really nice and it's a good community. And then of course Phnom Penh, where I am right now, and I really love this city because it feels like a little big city. I'm originally from a small town, but then I moved to Toronto and lived there for many years. And I just found it really overwhelming and just too big, and just couldn't really get to know it. But Phnom Penh, I feel like I've been to every neighborhood, and it feels smaller. It feels way smaller than Toronto. I'm sure it is much smaller. And yet I can find almost anything I need here. Modern movie theater, giant modern malls, restaurants from all over the world. We got breakfast sandwich coming. Yes. Welcome, Trent. Here's my breakfast sandwich. We got egg and bacon and a bun. Really simple. I think it's $4.50 for the coffee and the breakfast sandwich. The traffic here is not as bad as other Southeast Asian capitals. I can drive across town in probably about 30 minutes here. But like I said earlier, things are changing very fast here, and that's one of the reasons why I think it's a good place to invest. I can buy a condo in downtown Phnom Penh in the most sought after neighborhood, brand new condo, just finished being built, for under $100,000. That's pretty unique. You probably noticed all the scooters buzzing around here. That's another thing I love about Cambodia. I can jump on my scooter, run some errands, pull up to a coffee stand, order iced coffee, they bring it right out to you. You don't have to get off the scooter or anything. Of course, it's not for everyone, especially in Phnom Penh where the traffic does get a little wild. But if you're comfortable on one, it really is much better than driving a car. I wouldn't want to own a car here. Scooter is faster and it's so cheap to maintain it. But if you prefer to just take Tuk-Tuk, the local taxi, that's an awesome way to get around as well. And with the ride-hailing app, like I said earlier, it's so easy to do that. Tuk-Tuks are another thing that sets Cambodia apart from the rest of Southeast Asia. They have Tuk-Tuks in Thailand, but they're more of a tourist thing. Here, they're one of the main ways to get around. I would say scooter number one, Tuk-Tuk number two. That's how most people are getting around in this country. The visa process here is extremely easy. An agent will just take care of it all for you. The cost is $480 a year for someone who is under the age of 55 and $300 a year for someone who's over the age of 55. And you can extend that as much as you want over and over again. Vacations here can be quite cheap. We just got back from Koh Rong, an island in the Gulf of Thailand. Beautiful turquoise water, soft sand, and it's just a 3-hour car ride and a 45-minute boat ride to get there. So having something like that on your doorstep is really nice. And then there's other places like Kampot, the sleepy river town I mentioned earlier, and Krachi, where you can take a kayak out on the Mekong and see the Irrawaddy River dolphins. It's about a 6-hour drive to Mondulkiri, where you can see the elephants. These are all amazing places to visit, and they're all inexpensive places to visit. We're talking $30 a night for a hotel, and transportation's very cheap. I think it costs $16, maybe $17 to go to Siem Reap, which is about 300 kilometers away. And if you want to get out of Cambodia, you can do that for quite cheaply. Hop on a plane to Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines. And finally, cost of living. I've done entire videos about my cost of living here. I know it's a big topic. I'm just going to show you my numbers, and I do track my spending, so these numbers are accurate. This is basically 3 years of living in Cambodia, and I've divided it up. I've done the math, and this is the average cost it costs me per month, per week, per year, whatever you want to look at. A couple of notes though, I have included my rent here. As I said earlier, it's covered by my wife's school, but I've included it in my totals. We live in a serviced apartment, which is really handy. They basically take care of everything for you. I don't have to go and pay the electricity bill. The guy who owns the building does that. Of course, I'm gonna pay a little bit more because of that, but I find it's worth it for us. And a serviced apartment also includes a pool, a gym, 24-hour security, parking, garbage collection, and cleaning my apartment twice a week, which At first I was a little bit, I can clean my own apartment, I don't need somebody else to do that. But you kind of get used to it, and it's so nice not having to ever clean. I also don't really have to cook for myself. If you look at my costs in regards to eating out and groceries, I spend way more on takeout and on restaurants than I do on groceries. I only really cook like one meal a day, usually breakfast, and sometimes I'll have like leftovers for lunch, but most of my food is being cooked by restaurants, by professionals, and it's nice not having to cook or clean. It's just a huge, huge game changer. You can do it here in Cambodia for pretty cheap. I'm spending $1,316 a month. I mean, that's such a good value for your money. And to me, that's the biggest appeal to Cambodia. I can go out to a restaurant every night if I want to. I can go to my local watering hole, get a beer for $1 or 75 cents if it's happy hour. It's just a greater quality of life for less living here in Cambodia. Okay, one last thing before you go. I have a YouTube channel where I make videos just like this one about living in Cambodia. I have tons of stuff on there, so if you are interested, if you want more information, check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/itchyfeet or you just type in Itchy Feet Cambodia and I'm sure it'll pop up. There's videos about how to drive, there's a total breakdown of my cost of living, there's all kinds of like local stuff if you want to see what a Kum Khmer event looks like, all kinds of stuff. And thank you guys for watching. Thanks to International Living for asking me to do this. I really appreciate that. And hopefully we'll see you guys in Cambodia.